Do you see any, and this might be crazy because as loaded as this draft was, it didn't feel like it was extremely
Yeah,
superstar
yeah,
heavy, if that makes
I
sense.
agree.
Do you see any potential Hall of Famers coming out of this draft? I know it's really early for that, but if it's not a Hall of
Yeah,
Famer, someone that just is
I
going
know
to
what you mean.
immediately provide great career throughout the NFL.
I know what you mean. Honestly, like you said, it wasn't like a star-studded draft. There was a
Right.
lot of solid players. If anything, two out of those four linemen that got taken last night are probably going to be a Hall of Famers. I just think that this was a really good lineman draft. Still some other guys out there. Jalen Carter comes to mind. If as long as he can keep his head on straight, he's going to be in a good system. He's playing with a lot of his former teammates, so that should be a good environment for him. He's got the tools. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it that he has what it takes to be possibly a Hall of Famer. I know this is one night after the draft, but I think
Yeah.
he's one of those guys. But the offensive lineman, Jalen Carter, those guys for sure. And maybe a wild card. I don't know. I was thinking about this, and I know you kind of just mentioned it with the Lions, but the Campbell draft. I like him. He's a
He
true
feels like
middle
a
linebacker.
linebacker.
He's a middle linebacker. He's not like one of those edge rusher guys. He's a guy that's going to be calling plays in the middle of that defense, and so
Yep.
he has the tools. You know, something about guys in Iowa and linemen and linebackers. They just feel like they're going to do something. So perhaps maybe he might be a sleeper.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm not going to argue with any of those there. Those are pretty solid. We've seen how, offensive linemen can come in, especially how valuable they can be. Not going to necessarily be as high on a Jack Campbell being a Hall of Famer, but he does feel like a very solid linebacker that can be in this league. Again, we of course, talked about the questionable big pick, of course, it possibly being reached
Right.
for Detroit. But, when I look into some of these players in the draft, the first one I'm going to potentially think of is Bryce Young going number one overall, being the first ever
Yeah.
Alabama player to go number one
Mhm.
overall, being a quarterback going number one overall out of Alabama, seeing the pedigree of the athletes that have been coming out of there, winning the Heisman Trophy,
Right.
looking at how he threw about 80 touchdowns and 10 to 12 interceptions in his collegiate career, and understanding that Bryce Young not only played against some of the biggest teams in the nation, and yes, he may have won or lost those games at times, but he had to put up with an Alabama roster that wasn't loaded with the Derrick Henrys and the
Yeah.
Alvin Kamaras and the Devontae Smiths and the Jerry Judys of the world.
Yeah.
He had to really go out there and carry that team at
Yeah.
times, really be that expensive, not that expensive, that player that can extend the play in that Patrick Mahomes, that Josh Allen type of way. And I think that's why he has that potential to be this Hall of Fame player in this draft. Bryce Young, of course, the size is a concern, but outside of that, there's not much you want him to
No.
fix. And if he can
No.
stay durable and stay healthy, the best ability is availability. I think Bryce Young could be looking at a very nice career. Another one I'm going to say as well is, as much as I don't like the pick for the Falcons at 8, Bijan Robinson as a player is an absolute stud. He was a
Yeah.
top 5 player overall in this draft to me. The way he bursts through the line, the way he can catch the football. Clearly, he was the RB1 by a long shot on many boards, especially when it came to, kind of prospecting over these running backs in the
Right.
league. But Bijan Robinson truly, whether he stays a Falcon, no matter really whatever team, well, I'm not going to say whatever team he goes to, but whether he stays a Falcon or not, I believe Bijan Robinson can be that impact player that potentially has that 12, 13-year NFL career. And yes, that is a long time for any NFL player, especially
Running back.
talking about a running back. And then another one, which really is going to shock a lot of people, I think Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison was my best
Ooh,
receiver coming into this draft this year. You look at the Pitt year alone with Kenny
yeah.
Pickett was absolutely amazing. He goes and plays with Caleb Williams at USC after being the best receiver in the country. And when you put him next to Justin Jefferson, I really think that's what the Vikings were looking at here. It's the fact that Justin Jefferson is for sure going to be a future Hall of Famer. I mean, look how he's playing already. At least we
Right.
hope, right? We've seen the OBJ starts and the Michael
Mhm.
Thomas starts of the world, and then injuries happen. We've seen Justin Jefferson stay healthy, though. Watching Jordan Addison come in, I kind of compared him to that Stephon Diggs, maybe that Justin Jefferson type
Yeah.
of receiver that's going to be lanky, but they really play effectively. They're that technician with the
Yeah.
footwork. They can route people up. So Bryce Young, Bijan Robinson,
Yeah.
and Jordan Addison, I think, could be some Hall
I
of
agree.
Fame players out of this draft.